Since automation has came into existence, various tools have been emerging in the market. Automation Anywhere is one such RPA tool used by the industries to automate various kinds of tasks. Now, Automation Anywhere Control Room is like the brain of Automation Anywhere, which basically controls everything that is happening with the tool and that is happening with the task. So hello all, this is Sahiti on behalf of Edureka, and I welcome you to this session on Automation Anywhere Control Room. In this session, guys, we'll understand what are the various features and functionalities offered by Automation Anywhere Control Room. So without any further ado, let's get started. But before that, I would like to request all of you to subscribe to our Edureka YouTube channel to get daily notified on the top trending technologies. So without any further ado, let's take a look at the topics for today's session. So the topics for today's session are, as you can see on my screen. We'll start this session by understanding what is Automation Anywhere, and then we'll look into Automation Anywhere architecture, that is basically the Automation Anywhere components. Once you understand the various components, I'll talk about Control Room and its various components like dashboard, activity, bots, devices, workload, audit log, and administrations. So after you understand all these concepts, we'll look into the hands-on part where I'll show you how you can create a user in Control Room and add a role to it, and finally how you can upload a task. So without any further ado, let's get started with the first topic for today's session, that is, what is Automation Anywhere? So Automation Anywhere is an RPA tool which aims to provide the users with digital workforce composed of the software bots. So these bots are basically responsible to complete an end-to-end process by simultaneously providing scalability and security. Now, Automation Anywhere has recently launched a community edition, that is basically the free edition, through which you can first explore the tool and automate tasks. And once you think you're good enough to go with the Enterprise Edition, you can go forward and choose the Enterprise Edition. So that was about Automation Anywhere in short. If you want to know about Automation Anywhere in depth, you can refer to my session on Automation Anywhere examples or what is Automation Anywhere, where I've spoken about Automation Anywhere in depth, right? But since this session is on Control Room, let's focus on Control Room more. So before I talk about Control Room, let me take you through the architecture of Automation Anywhere. Now, the architecture of Automation Anywhere is basically a distributed architecture. So this architecture basically has three components which work together to help the user to achieve his task. Those tasks are basically bot creators, bot runners, and Control Room itself. Now, the bot creators and bot runners are basically connected to the Control Room, and the Control Room is the brain of Automation Anywhere. Now, by this, you can understand that, Control Room is the place where everything happens, and it is the brain of Automation Anywhere where everything is controlled. So before I move forward and get into depth of Control Room, let me just tell you about bot creators and bot runners. Well, bot creators, as the name suggests, are basically used to create bots. So these are basically desktop-based applications whose sole role is to upload or download bots and connect them to the Control Room. Now, multiple users can create bots which are created and configured for the Control Room. So the bot creator is basically used to create the bots. Now, coming to the next component, that is bot runners. Bot runners are responsible to run or execute the scheduled bots. So multiple bots can be executed in parallel, but the bot runners cannot update or create the automation. Now, bot runners are also connected to the Control Room and have the ability to report back the execution log status to the Control Room. Now, finally coming to Control Room, if you ask me what is Control Room, then Control Room is the most important component of this particular architecture, that is Automation Anywhere's architecture. It's basically a web server that controls the bots created by the bot creators and also handles the automation executed by the bot runners. So the Control Room basically ensures centralized management by offering features such as centralized user management, automation deployment, source control, and so on. If I have to give you a summary of Control Room, then Control Room is basically the brain of Automation Anywhere. It offers centralized user management. It provides a dashboard where you can see different stuff like different analytic stuff and maybe how many bots are running, how many bots are not running, how much CPU is used by a specific bot, what is the task happening with which bot, and so on. Apart from that, it manages the bot creators and bot runners and is completely web-based. So now once you have downloaded Control Room, that is basically either through the Enterprise Edition or the Community Edition, you have to basically log into your Control Room. So since I've downloaded Control Room through the Enterprise Edition, I have this extra option of administration. But if you use the Community Edition, you will not find the extra option of administration, which you'll see in the dashboard. But before that, let me just log into the Control Room. So to log into the Control Room, you'll basically have a URL which will be generated when you install Control Room. So if you want to know how to set up and install Control Room in Enterprise Edition, you can refer to my session on how to set up and install Automation Anywhere Enterprise Edition. So apart from that, let's just log in over here. So I'll just mention the username and password, right? And then I'll just click on login. Now, once I click on login, you'll see that, automatically we'll be logged into our control room with the username and the password. And once the control room loads, you see various features and functionalities on the left-hand side. And for the respective feature, you have this particular dashboard. So don't worry, we're going to discuss each one of these in depth. So on that note, let's get started with the discussion on control room components. So as I said before, control room offers various components like dashboards, activity, bots, devices, workload, audit log, and administration. Now, since I've installed the Enterprise Edition, I have the administration option, else you will not find it in the Community Edition. But before I go to that particular option, let me just click on the Dashboards option. So the Dashboards feature of the control room is basically a feature which provides stats of various parameters. So it has various features like, home, bots, devices, audit log, workloads, and insights. So if I click on the home dashboard, you see that, the home dashboard shows the user bot run status, the total queues, the total bot schedules, the total users, bot velocity, and the capacity of bots versus the bot runners. Now, since I've no tasks uploaded on the bots and then, I've no running tasks present over here, there's no data available. Else you'll see that, you'll have various options to represent data in various manners like, chart filters, chart styles. For example, I can choose all charts to be scatter type or maybe line charts. So it's completely our wish how we want to represent the data, guys. This is what the home dashboard shows. Coming to the bots one, the bots dashboard shows the bot heartbeat, MVP bots, bot status, failure reasons, and the upcoming schedules of the bots. So this basically keeps the information of all the bots that are running and maybe are scheduled in future. So you'll basically get an idea of all the bots deployed. Coming to devices, well, the devices dashboard focuses on the hardware utilization like, the CPU utilization, the memory utilization, HDD utilization, upcoming device utilization, and failure analysis also, right? So for example, if you upload a task on the bot, now a bot can use, let's say, 20% of CPU, and maybe for memory, it's just using, 500 MB and so on. So all these details will be present over here. Coming to the next one, that is audit tab. So the audit tab basically keeps a track of all the activities and actions performed by various users. So basically all the different types of actions and the activities are basically tracked over here. So you can just see that, the audit tab as a log file where, you have all the actions performed. For example, let's say, I have the client login over here, the log out, the delete user, maybe login again, log out, release license, and so on. So over here also you see activity audit trial by the username. For example, you have to check the activities for the username admin, right? So these are basically the activities performed by the username admin. And similarly comes over here that, we choose the host machine types. So basically, guys, these are various filters that you can use to understand which user is performing which activity on which kind of bots or which kind of host machine and what are the activities done. Now let's move forward with the next dashboard, that is workload. Well, the workload dashboard has basically two tabs, that is the executive dashboard and the operation manager's dashboard. Now the executive dashboard basically provides visualizations for queue status, queue with average time, device pulls by backlogs, and queues by time to complete. Coming to Operation Manager's dashboard, the Operation Manager's dashboard provides visualizations for device pools by FTE, pools by decreasing error rate, queues with average times, device pools with backlogs, and so on. Coming to the next one, that is Insights. Well, the bot Insight basically focuses on providing real-time business insights and the digital workforce. So this is something that I'm not going to touch presently over here because this session is on control room. But you can just understand that, Bot Insight is basically embedded in Automation Anywhere's RPA platform, and it aims to provide real-time business units and digital workforce performance to make sure that, the user understands what is happening in the bots and then what kind of data has been read, and then the deployed bots can work in a better way. So that was about the dashboards tab, guys. Now let's move forward with the next one, the activities tab. Well, the activity feature of the control room dashboard is mainly used to check the history and the progress of the scheduled activities. So it basically again has three tabs, that is the in progress, scheduled, and the historical. Coming to the in progress one, the in progress activity tab is used to check the status of the activity which is currently executing. So it gives all the details related to the activity such as the username, the bot name, the item name, and the progress. Coming to schedule tab, the scheduled activity tab is used to check all the details of the activity which is scheduled to execute sometime later. So it basically gives all the details related to the activity such as username, bot name, item, and so on. Now similarly coming to historical, The historical activity tab is used to check the details of the activity which might have been completed, finished, stopped, or timed out. It basically gives details related to the device name, automation name, bot name, user, and so on. So basically, guys, the activity tab is used to check the history and the progress of the scheduled activities. Now let's move forward with the next feature, that is the bots. So the bots feature of the control room dashboard is used to see the details of the task created and uploaded. So it gives the details such as the task name, credentials, client name, and so on. So it again has two options under it, that is the My Bot section and the Credentials section. So the My Bot section basically has all the tasks and its details such as name, client, size, and so on. Coming to Credentials, the Credential tab basically displays the credentials, the lockers, and the credentials requests. So basically all the credentials that are used, or maybe if you want to set a credential into the list, and maybe if you want to create a locker and then you want to put on a credential request, you can go forward and do it over here. Moving on to the next feature, that is devices. Well, the device feature basically displays whether a user is logged into the client UI on the device or not. So if the username is disabled, then the device is offline, and if the user is deleted, then the device name will no longer appear. So don't worry about it. I'm going to show you when I do the hands-on part. So when we log into the client UI, you'll automatically see that the username is enabled, and then the user will be shown online. Else, the username will be disabled and the device will be shown offline. Apart from this, the devices tab also has the My Device Pool section where you can have a set of device pools to perform any kind of task. Now coming to the next feature, that is workload. Well, the workload feature of the control room dashboard displays the load of queues by displaying details such as queue name, automation status, bot name, and so on. So if I click on queue, you'll see various parameters that can be mentioned for queues like queue name, my access, automation name, automation status, and so on. And coming to SLA Calculator, this is basically used to assess how long will it take to process items based on the device pool size, or how many devices are required to meet the target SLA, right? So this is basically used to calculate that. And after that, we have Audit Log. Well, the Audit Log feature is again used to keep a track of all the actions performed by various users. So basically, over here you see that, the user has logged in, the logged out, and then you see action taken by which user on which device, and what is the request ID, and then what was the status, right? So in the audit tab of the home dashboard, you saw that, basically all these actions were shown in a pictorial format, or maybe all were visualized. And over here you see it in a table format. Now, after that comes the last option, that is the administration tab. Now, administration tab is only seen when you've installed your control room using the Enterprise Edition. So since I've installed using Enterprise Edition, I've got this administration tab. So if I click on this administration tab, you see various options like, settings, users, roles, licenses, and migration. So talking about each one of them one by one. Well, the settings tab basically provides the configuration settings of control rooms such as the database configurations, the bot configurations, the client application settings, credentials, and the email notifications. So if I just click over here, you can see that my general installation type is Express. This is my URL. The bots are nothing at present. The client application has been installed. And then, all the URLs are present over here. Similarly, coming to credentials, I've mentioned the master key, the installation type to be Express, and the email IDs to send any notifications if there's something happening. Now coming to users, well, users tab is basically used to create users with various roles. I'm going to do that in the hands-on part, don't worry. Moving on to roles. Roles tab again shows a list of all the predefined roles, or you can also create a role for yourself, right? So you can either create a role or you can use the predefined roles, and then it shows, what role name can be used and how many users are using that particular role. For example, let's say AE admin is used by one of the users, that is the admin itself. Now coming to licenses. Licenses basically shows a list of product and device licenses. It also shows which licenses are purchased and whether they are used or not. For example, let's say over here you can see that control room version 11.3.1 is being purchased for trial version and is being used. Cognitive is not purchased, bot farm is not purchased, bot insight is present for 11.3.1 version. Business analytics is purchased, and then I've not used it yet. API is not purchased. Similarly, coming to device licenses, you can see that the bot creator, the unattended bot runner, attended bot runner, and so on licenses have been purchased but yet have not used them yet. Now moving on to the last section, that is migration. Well, the migration tab is basically used to migrate information from an old version of the control room to the new version. So guys, that was about various features and functionalities of control room. I hope you've understood what are the different features offered by control room and how you can use it. Now let's move on to the hands-on part where I'll show you how you can upload a bot on the control room. So to do that, what you have to do is you have to create a user, you have to assign the user with the roles, and then you have to allocate a license to the user. After that, you have to log into Automation Anywhere client with the user details, and then you have to choose a task which has to be uploaded. So that's what I'm going to do. So now let's get started with the hands-on part. So to start with the hands-on part, what I'm going to do is I'm going to first create a user. So I'll go to the users tab, and then what I'll do is I'll choose this option of create a user. After that, I'll just mention the username, description, and so on. Let's say I mention username to be user1, description to be sample user, first name, let's say I mention my name. Let me mention my last name also, password, and then I'll confirm my password. Then I'll mention my email ID. Right, and then again I'll just confirm my email ID. Right, after that I'll just select the role. So over here you have various roles like admin, basic, bot inside consumer, and so on. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just choose this A basic role, and then I'll just click on this arrow. Once I click on this arrow, you'll see that this particular role has been selected for this particular user. Now what I'll do is I'll scroll down, and then I'll allocate a device license to this particular user. So since we want to upload a bot, what I'll do is I'll just choose this option of bot creator. We basically have 3 bots, and then we can upload one of them, right? Now once all the details are mentioned, so you can just go forward and just check the details. And once you think all the details are fine, I'll go forward and click on create user. Now once the user has been created, you automatically see that the user 1 with username, first name, last name, and so on has come into the users list. Now after that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to log into my Automation Anywhere Enterprise client. So I'll run as administrator, and then I'll mention the username and the password. So let me just mention the username and the password, and then you can just check the control room URL from the settings tab of the administration tab. So over here, this is basically a control room URL. So you can just check that, and then you can click on login. Now once the user logs in, what we can just do is we can just click on this option of let's get started, and then we can choose this option of automate. Now once the enterprise client opens up, what we can do is we can just create a task, and then we can upload the task. So to create a task, what we can do is I'll just click on new, and let's say I'll choose workbench. And then let's say I create a task. So for that, I'll drag and drop a message box, and let's say I mention welcome to Edureka, and then I'll click on save. Once I click on save, I'll just mention my task, let's say sample task. Click on save again, and then what I'll do is I'll just execute once to check if it's working or not. So once I click on execute, you see the output that welcome to Edureka. Now I'll just click on OK, close this particular workbench, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload this task. So for that, what I'll do is I'll choose this option of upload. And then when I choose this option of upload, you see that upload is successful. That means this particular task has been uploaded successfully. So that is how basically, guys, you can upload a task. So now what we can do is we can go back to our control room, right? And then we can go to bots, we can go to my bots, and then in my bots you see a task bot with the name sample task. That was basically our task name, and that has been uploaded by the user with the username user1, and its size has been mentioned. Apart from that, also if you go back to devices over here, you see that device with the device name, that is desktop, and 850hi7p with username user1 and the license type to be bot created has been connected. Now this is connected because our client has been logged in with that particular user, and our client is running. If our client is logged out and the client is not running, you'll see that the connection is disabled. So that's how, guys, you can use Automation Anywhere control room and its features for various kinds of tasks from simple to complex, and then you can upload tasks as bots and deploy them. So guys, that's all from my side today. I hope you found this session informative. So if you have any further queries related to the session, please comment in the comment section below. Thank you and happy learning.
I hope you have enjoyed listening to this video. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries, and we will reply them at the earliest. Do look out for more videos in our playlist and subscribe to Edureka channel to learn more. Happy learning!